The employee-generated content is a source of frustration and confusion for some brands. You need to do it if you have social people who are in the space.
Think about if you're like a coffee shop or a pizza restaurant. It'd be so easy to do like, hey, we got a pizza making class like this Saturday.
We're going to take creating content in-house seriously, or it can just be we are enabling people to make content seriously.
Welcome to the Brand Fathers.
Back from darkest China, where we went to undercover understand the principles of in real life marketing. I know the guys have been holding it down for 2 weeks without me. I'm back. Just want to get an intro. This week we are talking about IRL marketing, things that make physical spaces stand out, and a bunch of other things that have been happening in campaigns the last few weeks. Gentlemen, how you doing? Was it nice to not be interrupted constantly during these podcasts, or how are we feeling?
Well, we've had our greatest views on the last 2 episodes, so we might have to just put you out.
Yeah, maybe I found something. Honestly, if I just need to become a recurring guest, whenever you need comedic relief, that's actually totally fine.
So for people who missed it, you were out in China. What were you doing out there? Give us a recap of the trip.
Yeah, so I was there hosting some events for Canton Fair. So Canton Fair is like the biggest trade show in the world overall, and it is there for people to meet manufacturers. So people from around the globe come to, it's basically 8 convention halls next to each other. So if you've been to like the Las Vegas Convention Center, there's 8 of those in a row, and there's 3 phases of that. So everything you could imagine, from beauty products to gardening to home to fashion, has somewhere in those 3 weeks basically gets a hall inside this massive, massive trade show. And the entire globe, Africans, Russians, the Middle East, whatever, come to China to get their stuff made. So I hosted an event with Pietra. I hosted an event with Crease Group, who's a manufacturing group that I do marketing for and I work with. And I was hunting down some stuff for my brand, and we were making content. I was also just on the hunt for more cool and interesting stuff to do in China.
And it sounds like you found some of it, yeah?
Oh, yeah. We found it all.
Oh, yeah.
And people start hitting you up being like, have you all seen this? Have you seen that? And I'm like, the answer is kind of always yes. Like, I'm interested,
So you posted this story where you were in like some kind of factory or showroom, and then there was like some bizarre sculpture from the ceiling. And I think your commentary on that was like, you can get people to come out and travel quite a distance to just see the spectacle of a thing. So let's like pull up this image.
Yeah.
What is happening here?
So this is the Louvre in China. It's called the Louvre, spelled like the Louvre. It's in this place called Foshan, which is like an hour from Guangzhou, and Guangzhou is like not one of the known cities in China, but it's where Canton Fair happens, and it's like the fashion fabric capital. Everything in China is broken down by like specialty. So fabric is Guangzhou, not even like manufacturing clothes, just fabric. And then in this particular spot, Foshan is about interiors. And so I had been hearing from a lot of people who I've talked to who are doing like fabrication and interior design that you should like make stuff in Foshan. And so I had also, when I used to own or be a partner in a group that owned some dispensaries here in Orange County back in the day. And we had ordered a bunch of furniture from overseas, and it came from Foshan. But basically, it's like, hey, all these people, Restoration Hardware, All Modern, CB2, make all their stuff in this area. And if you go to this area, there's all these wholesale malls where you can basically start a brand or buy one-off for your houses. But the most famous of these is the Louvre. And it's famous because like literally there's like everything in China, there's like 7 massive malls worth of stuff right next to each other that all promote the same thing. Right. And there's a bunch of these furniture ones in there. But some enterprising young Chinese fellow at some point in the last 30 years was like, you know what? I'm going to put a replica of France inside this center. I'm going to call it the Louvre because fuck them. and we're going to make it an attraction. And it is, because you drive all this way and that's the one you go to because it's got this crazy thing inside of it, because it's got a brand name, versus like Guangzhou Jiqing Furniture Wholesale Emporium right next door might be just as good, but no one goes.
So this is super interesting because I think as you were talking about this, and this is how this idea for the episode came about, we talked to a lot of brands that move from offline to having retail experiences. We talked to a lot of small businesses that are retail only. And this question is, well, how do you leverage online? How do you leverage marketing, like digital marketing, to drive traction for your business? And I think you have to be very intentional around the design of your space as well as your products and all of the details and touch points to either make it an experience that hook people in to come there or create things that are shareable. So I think what we're going to do is just talk through some of these examples that have caught our eye historically.
Oren, my question is like, so it's called the Louvre, but that design, that's not the pyramid.
There's a whole French thing. It looks like some like French, but yeah, it's not actually the Louvre. It's just French inspired.
Possibly
so
even
good.
better.
Is it also, it looks like, isn't there a big airport in China that has that kind of crazy swirly design with the waterfall?
There's so much in China. It's actually hard to keep track of what everything looks like each other. But yeah, it's just like they put some of that in there. But then also around that, there's like a fully, like they had a 1800s French grand piano, like a real one from the era that's like there. And then you're like inside that. It's like hard to kind of describe, but like you're in a castle, like a full period piece castle that exists purely to take photos. No function. There's not like a restaurant. Like it's just there.
I feel like this is the evolution of the selfie booth. Like most businesses figured out, they got for a while, maybe 10, 15 years ago, they got the little neon sign with a hashtag, or like a greenery wall. And this is like, we gotta level up now. We can't just do a selfie wall.
Yeah, well, I feel like, and in China, there's so much of everything in China that they have all these experiences that are like kind of differentiated. I think sort of pave the path for what we're going to see in the future. Like another one that was interesting is there's a mall there, like a luxury mall that is like 5 stories high, size of a typical mall, but it's only like 7 stores. It's because the stores are enormous. Like you can go to this basically like a Gucci store that's like the size of a 7th of a mall, right? And then like a Vivienne
like
Westwood
city block or something. Yeah.
And so you're like, cool, I'm only going to 7 stores, but the experience is like so deep. And there's a Michelin star restaurant on the roof. Like that's a mall now. And it's like that becomes a destination of a different type. And so it's really interesting seeing these experiences because they're kind of at the future of this commerce. Like they're obviously like a little ahead of the wave is really interesting.
Yeah. Our malls are essentially kind of becoming some of those bigger box accounts, right? You may have like a huge anchor Dick's Sporting Goods or a department store or, Forever 21s or I don't know, 3 stories tall these days.
Thing. Like you go right down the street to a normal mall and it's like Pop Mart and DJI and, all the normal stuff. And then this is just like a different experience where it's like, cool, it's the same size, but guess what? It's 5 stores. Yeah. It's interesting to see, but it's all about just like, okay, what makes something a destination? And this Louvre one is interesting because look, in China, they'll just steal some IP. Like, the Chinese used to go to Santorini all the time. And then some enterprising young Chinese fellow built Santorini, like on a coast, being like, cool, instead of traveling all the way there, we'll go to our beach and we just made this thing that looks exactly like it. That's a very like Chinese mentality. And I think that,
and that is a full scale city.
No, it's like an area. That's like that just looks exactly, Santorini in China, a picture perfect replica of the Greek island.
No way.
We like X thing. Let's copy X thing. Is like, I know it's like a stereotype because it's 1000% correct, right? There's no like, let's make our own version. It's like, let's just put Santorini here.
Wild. I also somebody came across like the algorithm the other day. Somebody built a like huge city across the waterway or something and then deserted it. And now, as an influencer, you can live there, but you're living in a city. No.
They call it the porcelain visa. The way Dubai has the golden visa, you can just go live in these abandoned Chinese cities with the porcelain visa.
So wild.
No power, but the photo ops are good. But yeah, but it's just this interesting. So they don't have the IP issue, right? So they're just like, cool, copy Santorini, call this thing the Louvre, and it's going to work. But if you're in the Western world, like, what do you do, right? And it's about like having that, like, what becomes that destination? I think a good example here locally is there's a coffee shop that opened up near us that was like a car coffee shop. They put like 3 or 4 rare Porsches inside.
Oh, yeah.
And it blew up on social media, blew up so much that they had to leave the complex they were in because the neighbors got too upset about how poppin' it was. And now we're like looking for a new location. But that's just a great example of like, cool, there's a million coffee shops out here. That one broke the internet because they put 3 fucking cars inside, which doesn't sound that crazy.
Well, I think it also works really well with complementary things. You have Cars and Coffee is very much built into the zeitgeist of the car world. Every Saturday morning in every city across the world, perhaps with the exception of New York City, Ashwin. I don't know if you know what cars are, Ashwin. We have these things. They're like 4 wheels.
Like metal vehicles.
We don't believe in them.
You can own them. They're not just like to get a ride.
I don't know if you know what a high density train caboose is, brother.
No, unfamiliar. I don't know what public transportation is being here in Texas, but we have these things called automobiles, and people get really excited about them. And Saturday morning cars and coffee is a big draw. It makes a lot of sense, you know.
Well, here we have the Bandit Running Store and coffee, which is always a draw. There's always a scene in there because obviously everyone is there for the coffee.
Speaking of coffee, I do want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors of the Brand Fathers. Our Onyx Coffee is incredible. One of the most fascinating things, not only is the coffee amazing, but the packaging is incredible. So much so,
and booklet out of the back, bro. Pull that little booklet,
dude.
Out.
This thing comes out. It is the most incredible.
The name of the Ethiopian farmer is in there. His family lineage, what the wife cooked the last 3 weeks. You're in deep, you know.
Bro, this is for the deepest. You can be rating your notes, your aroma, your flavor, acidity, the body. I mean, it is incredible. Even more incredible is that the subscription of these is like color coordinated. So like it'll be a different flavor. It'll be a different kind of shade of this color palette that all works together. So I'm such a nerd that I'll even on my coffee little bar, I've started collecting them. Anyway, shout out to Onyx Coffee. They incredibly set up the bar. We also probably need to do a deeper dive. Their creative team has now started its own standalone agency because their creative is so good and they're so good at, you know, packaging and thoughtfulness and web design, and they continue to go deep. And their retail actually, I think, looks amazing down in Arkansas at their flagship. So Grandfather's road trip needs to come sometime.
Speaking of retail, I dropped something in the chat I want to pull up. It's a store in LA. And this is kind of this conversation we have around X. Like, this is an ice cream store, immaculately interior designed. But this is like what I'm going here next week. And like, this is what the modern experience looks like, right? And this is what people are doing in Foshan where I went, is they're ordering these things, right? Because basically picture any item you've ever gotten for interior design is 1/4 of the cost inside Foshan. There's all these designers that go there. And so when people go and make these things, you can either pay some local fabrication company to arbitrage that and give you a 4x markup, or you can go to these places directly and with your own designs and fabricate whatever you want and put it on a boat and come over. I'm like, this is the like, okay, I want to launch an ice cream place and then have it get social attention. Like, this is an ice cream place that's on Outlander, which is about like the most pop culture stamp you can get of like taste culture. There's like no better stamp. And so like that, I think, is this kind of experience we're moving into, because like when you really look at it, like people are always like, oh, this costs so much. And it's like, yeah, well, in the modern world, it costs so much if you go pay an event production agency or like a local, like an LA interior company, versus if you hire a designer and then you go source the thing globally where it is, it's going to cost you the same amount as your shitty one would have cost if you were doing it domestic. And like, that's what a lot of people are arbitraging to make these experiences happen.
So I think there's a really interesting point in that. And I want to pull up, Glossier, because they opened up a store, I think down in Soho, and there's a few different points there, but
the queens of fabrication.
The queen.
Just a quick question though, from our Orange County correspondent here. Is Awan like closely named near Erewhon so that they can arbitrage off of that name?
Was it closely named after Aman?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was more of the reference than.
Oh, got it. Okay, amazing.
You know, just flip that M upside down.
That's right. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought
that's inspired.
I thought we moved off of that upside down letter thing, the V and the all that, about 10 years ago, but I've been mistaken. Here we go.
We're bringing it back.
So a couple of things here. So Jordan, earlier you said like, hey, brands need to like, we're past the neon sign era where people are just going to come in and take a selfie in front of it. One of the things that they've done in this Glossier store, let's go back. They have a selfie wall. So they built a replica mosaic. Yeah, right here. They built a replica mosaic of what subway tiles look like. This is like the inside of a subway station, and
beautiful.
In front of the sign is actually in reverse, so that when you take a selfie, it shows up appropriately. And so that's like a small design decision, but they're very intentional about what they're optimizing for here. They're like, people are going to come here, try on makeup, whatever, and it's like a really cute, nice setup, and they're going to take a selfie. Let's like make
so it good.
And it's like, it's just very, very well done. So that's kind of on a kind of grand scale, right? They designed a whole room like this. But if we, panel over a couple to their sinks. So they have these sinks that are like bright red. That's just a really unique touch point that you don't see in bathrooms at like restaurants.
So I was actually on luxury faucet, luxury shower, luxury sink quest when I was at Canton Fair, because that's one of the big categories they have in there. And you'll see, like, I have all these catalogs. Like, if you go to the source of the people that make that stuff, it's like $20. And it's like, and then you'll see the $400 version of it come to wherever you are when you go shopping here in the US. But like the markup on those items, and then the ability to say, cool, I'm getting that at like the $25 price point, but it's whatever color I want, it's whatever look I want. And you start to realize like the MOQ on that, if it's an existing style with a custom color, is 2 or 1. Like there is a whole world out there that if you're tapped into, and obviously like people who are doing interiors for brands that have a lot of stores are like, this stuff is easier than people think if you have the creative vision.
Yes. When we talk a lot about packaging design, we talk about this idea of like what's going to stop the scroll in the feed. Like how can you think about your the look and feel of your bottle, or like some custom touch points that just make it stand out when you're making a video or someone shares a photo. And I think there's a very similar parallel to draw here in terms of your store or experiential design. You can do something as grand as like the Louvre or this like reverse subway mirror, or you can do something as small as like, hey, how do we just like make really cool faucet handles, right? That no one else has seen before. And we'll pay the additional $20 if you go straight to the source, or the additional $1,000, to do like 4 sinks. But we know that 3 out of 10 people who come into this bathroom are going to take a picture of it, send it to a friend, or post it on social. And you have to think of the entire place as like, what are the hooks in where people will naturally want to share or talk about it?
Yeah, this actually down to one of the other things we wanted to hit too, which is about the planning for your employee generated content in these spaces as well. It's something I've been talking a lot with people that are in Cut 30. We've had a lot of retail stores in this last one. And it was like, hey, what is the environment that you can film in front of? And for some of them, it's like, do you have a back room, or do you have like one was a fragrance company, you have like a fragrance wall, and they have all these testers and R&Ds. And it's like, as this becomes more important, content that both consumers generate and your team generates in there with this whole like EGC trend, like set that up for success as well. And like if you have all those things in planning, then you're like basically engineering a bunch of content spaces along with your retail flow.
Yeah, I mean, the employee generated content, I'm sure, is a source of frustration and confusion for some brands. You need to do it if you have like social people who are in the space. But it's a great, a lot of discussion was around the pandemic around how you could get more utilization out of retail spaces or office spaces. And I think, that Glossier example is perfect that is a retail space, but shareable. And that would be a beautiful content place to be shooting. I also just need to give a small round of applause to them flipping it backwards for the selfie native use case. Like it's pretty brilliant. Got to hand it to him.
So I think, and we probably talked about this on a previous episode, but one of the ones that really caught my attention in the city is the camp experiences. So camp, it's a kids store. Yes. They have licensing deals with like Bluey, Disney, all of these things, and kind of like post right after like 2020, where a lot of their business shifted online. They were like, hey, we still need to drive people in store, and we have a beautifully designed in-store experience where we sell toys, but we can't drive traffic, every single day into this place, especially if they're not high foot traffic areas. So what they did is they started putting on these 1 to 2 hour shows where parents come in with their kids and do this like the Paw Patrol experience, the Encanto experience. And it's like a little like immersive play and walkthrough of the store. The tickets for that, I think, are $45, $40 or $50 a person. So they make a ton of money off of that. And then people leave this thing and then they want to buy the product. So it's kind of like Disney, right? It's like the Disney World experience just on a smaller scale. Now, this has become a meaningful part of their business. And I think there's so many more businesses that can think about their space and what they offer to provide value to people. One of the things that I think Oren always says, like when he's talking about doing workshops with people, is like, how do you get people to like come in and walk away with a certain transformation, right? Here it's entertainment, but think about if you're like a coffee shop or a pizza restaurant, like it'd be so easy to do like, hey, we got a pizza making class like this Saturday, like before we open at 6 p.m., 5 to 6 p.m., come in, we're going to give you free wine, you make pizza, and then whatever, you're probably just going to eat dinner there. You're already there, but you're paying this additional for something easy that you're already doing. So I think places need to like think about what they can offer like this to give people a reason to come in.
And even when I was in Paris, one of the most popular things on TikTok in Paris is the Bully store, the Officine Universelle Bully store, where basically they sell combs, cosmetics, like little like trays and stuff like that, but in this very like ornate French style. And their whole thing is you can just get them engraved there. You can get this engraved comb, you can get this engraved brush, and they have this whole thing and you can video it and you can record it. And like, I went there. I had like I got there like 90 minutes before closing on my last day. I'm trying to pick up something for my wife, and it was like hours of lines. There was like a group of 8 Japanese tattoo artists in front of me who were like trying to get the brushes before they go. And it literally was just that experience of like amazing looking exit bag, get a personalization of like this really nice item that's kind of unique to the place. Like they only offer it in the Paris locations of the store. Like that became it. And it can really be as simple as the engraving. And another one that when I was in China, we were visiting a bunch of fragrance stores. So I'm on like a fragrance tear. Personally, is like a thing I'm learning about. And they had a whole place too. Like you walk in and these women that are dressed in like smocks and look like fucking priestesses are like identifying you, like looking at you, then bringing you over a scent that they think like matches your general vibe. And then we'll like engrave these like custom packages like based on that. And you're just like, it's such a cool experience. It makes you want to purchase.
Yes.
Yeah, I just got back from Bannon Dunes, which is a mecca of a golf place, and I spent some time with Akbar Shisti, who's the founder of this company called Seamus Golf, and he was just talking about the value of experience golf, and these people have created these destination courses that exist everywhere, and he does these really cool like hand forged ball markers. And people want to take away something from the courses that they're going to. And this is like that kind of engraving concept that you were referencing, Oren, that is just people want to mark their experience by some way and have something that they can take away. And these are great examples. And I think the engraving ones that you offered are a great example as well. It's just, memorializing and having meaning. One of the quotes that I posted yesterday was from that book, Alchemy. And he was saying, you can have the product, the product can be made, but then meaning is made by all of us and those experiences that you're trying to hold on to. So whether it's the camp example or comb or perfume or golf, people want to walk away with that experience and they attach meaning to it, which then drives up the value if you're a brand and a company trying to sell items at a premium.
This is the opposite of Bad Birdie, by the way. I like whatever Seamus is doing. I'd start golfing for that.
You're darn right. Seamus has been there from the beginning. They've been around for about 15 years and they've been doing really good, tasteful stuff. Yeah, shout out to Akbar. Okay, so next is this concept that we want to talk about where you're sort of trading influence and making it a commercial transaction. There are some good examples of this. Ashwin will talk about one here in just a second, I think that's big in the fitness world. But it reminded me of Popular Pays. Popular Pays was founded by a gentleman named Corbett Drummy and some others out in Chicago. And I used to do some work with them. I remember having this light bulb moment early in the Instagram days where I was posting a lot of like coffee images and sneakers and whatnot. And you would go to a place and you could see very quickly, like if you just posted a really interesting like photo at a coffee shop, coffee owner, and then I was working at that same time, craft coffee was coming to Dallas. And you could see like it wasn't a big thing like it quite was in LA yet or in New York. And I remember thinking like this owner doesn't understand that if this person with like 10,000 followers posts one cup of coffee from them, that could drive like the cost to the coffee shop owner is what, like 50 cents if you gave them a cup of coffee. And yet the value that they could receive on the other end from brand aspiration, for being associated with these influencers, from whatever. And so Popular Pays came along and they basically were the solution that I thought was really interesting. Where you, as a business, so it has 2 tabs here. If you're watching on video, it says if you're a business, you can register and you can then offer products or experiences that your business has. And then you could set a threshold. You could say, I'm looking for someone with 10,000 followers who's based in this city, who has an audience of, women or coffee connoisseurs or whatever it might be. And then if you're a creator, you could also opt in and say, hey, I'm a creator. I have 10,000 followers or 20,000 followers, and this is my audience. I want to sign up for that thing. And then basically it will allow you to match. And now the platforms have done this. I think Instagram has a business tool and a platform where you can log into the creator program and, brands can find you. But I thought it was a really smart idea. They sold it several years ago, but this is really just clever way to commercialize and operationalize influence. And I think you have another example here as well, Ashwin.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about something because I was talking to a coffee shop not too long ago that has opened up near UC Berkeley's campus, and they were like, "How we get decent foot traffic? We're just starting. How can we think about marketing? Like, do I need to become a content creator for the brand?" This person was not a content creator, didn't really want to be a content creator for the brand, so it's like that's probably not the highest leverage thing to do here. But we were kind of riffing live on this call, and I was walking him through something that I've done in the CPG space. I've done for one of my brands. It's like a decently well-known strategy, which is we were incentivizing people to post about our product and brand on TikTok to create content from it, because you don't need like this big following to like create viral content. And so what we would do is like, hey, if you post about us, if you tag us in an Instagram story, we're just going to send you another free pack of product, because that cost us is like $5 and we'll do that all day long. Then if you post a video and you surpass certain view thresholds, we're just going to give you cash rewards. And it was something like, if you got over 250,000 views, we knew that was going to convert because we had this like product that resonated. And so we're like, we'll give you $1,000 for that. We'll give you a meaningful reward. And that drove a lot of people to create content. And there's probably like 3 or 4 people that did that. But the return off of that was like, one of them drove like $25,000 in revenue, right? So it's like,
Incredible.
Yeah, we'll pay out $4,000 for this, but we got a great return. And so I take a concept like that and I ask this question: how do you apply it to a retail space? How do you apply it to a place like a coffee shop? Have all these kids coming in who are like digitally savvy, right? They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram. Half of them probably want to become creators of some sort. What if you just ran a promo where it's like, I'll give you the top, free cold brew for the entire year, right? Which as a cost to your business is negligible. If you create content that like surpasses a certain like view threshold, right? Or you create something. There's this localization of the content. So you're going to hit all of these kids on UC Berkeley. Some kid's going to come in super creative and be like, this is why like the cold brew here is like the best thing. Or he's going to do something unhinged, but he's going to do enough that like gets this more traction than the 6 other coffee shops that are nearby on campus.
For a college campus too. Like it's like ripe in that audience, for a bunch of kids who need any help they can get with finance, but are also digitally native and are willing to, will post for coffee. In fact, this example I'm referencing, I actually went to them and bartered and said, hey, I'll create content for you. I just want a open tab of coffee, and yeah, it was pretty negligible to them, but it had great value to me because I was spending a ton of money on coffee at that time with a large coffee habit. So
even if you go every day, it's going to be like $600 in cost of coffee to you for like making a video that gets like 70,000 views on their business. Like
I think the way brands should look at it is like, there's 2 pieces. Like, look, in your ideal world, you create amazing content as a brand, a retail space, and you enable other people to make amazing content. That's the ideal world.
Yep.
But then really, if you have one or the other, you're doing just fine. And that can be, hey, we're going to take creating content in-house seriously, or it can just be, we are enabling people to make content seriously. And there's 2 ways to do that, right? I think there's incentivization, but also you'll see like, I don't know, there's that spot in Austin that like, it's just viral because they have the one drink that's like, it's like a yuzu matcha or whatever it is, and it's pink. And everyone goes there to get the video of the pink thing, much like Community Goods in LA and all the stuff where it's like, you want to make a video at Community Goods. And so I just think like there's that like, hey, if we think about enablement and we can incentivize enablement, if we don't have virality, we can create virality through what's on the menu. But like that's the ideal for basically everything. And look, even if you're a jewelry store, it's like, yeah, and you have the ability, like if you come in and you spend X, you get to hold the massive diamond or whatever it is that like makes for the cool video. And you think of all the, look, and this is even what people are also, I think, frown on some of this. You're like, look at the luxury brands. In Paris, you can go to the Louis Vuitton store and get a chocolate bag. And guess who does that? Like all these people, they post it, they flex it. It's rich people, it's influencers. It's a €250 bag. But like if the luxury brands are leaning into that as much, like I don't think you need to look down on it.
And you think about the cost, like for us as content creators, like we understand like $250 or euros to have a video go be a banger. It's just simple
all
math.
day. Like, people will pay for that innate virality. It's funny. I have like a literal list for my next trip in Paris, and it's like cool. Like the big old, there's the huge croissant that you have to order ahead. That's like you order a week ahead. It's like $100.
Yes.
That's a croissant that's like literally this size. And then it's like it's the Louis Vuitton bag you can only get there. It's that engraved comb you mentioned before, and it's like banger video, banger video, banger video. You know.
I was even looking at like there was some, I think Landforce and I share a love of Facebook Marketplace finds of vehicles particularly. And there's like a Rolls Royce retrofitted golf cart from like 1997. And it was $8,000.
Video.
Now think about, I make
videos.
That's all. I would say that's a must buy.
It's like literally like would pay for itself in 5 videos.
I think you have to put that in your backyard and then just like drive around while you're putting on putt dribbling.
Totally. And you could just whip up and just be like, and that's like the new hook, you know?
I think so many people need to start thinking of things like, I think of that. I am monetizing that all the time. I'm like, cool. If I go to this restaurant, like, is it a banger video? If I go to this thing, is it like any 100K plus video is worth money to me. It's probably worth up to like, say $500. Honestly, like it's a pretty decent sum of money. Like I'm willing to spend. And then think if you're a business, it's worth even more. And so whatever, it's like all those little things like, yeah, I'm going to buy this 3D printer. We're going to get the Rolls Royce golf cart, whatever it is. Like how many videos do we amortize this over is 100% the correct way to think about like attention on the internet, because it's still so cheap to do that organic versus like any paid, I'm going to put $500 into a paid campaign versus buy the chocolate Louis Vuitton egg and then like run over it with my, it's like there's a whole... it's just a better way to think about content.
I think this is a great reminder for business owners or small businesses or marketing managers that so many of them are going directly to, okay, I need to hire a videographer for the day for $1,000 for me to get 10 videos or whatever. It's like, okay, you could spend that same $1,000. Like, that's fine. Do it, to your point earlier, Oren. Either own the content or let others. But you could also spend that $1,000 on some really interesting thing in your shop that then is going to encourage other people to be doing that work for you. And the value on top of that we haven't talked, that we're, mentioning from content creators as well, is like, if I don't have to edit it or do something crazy or come up with all this source material and like create all these crazy, other things that just out of my brain, there's also an incredible value on that as well. And as a business owner, you have a lot of other things you're worrying about. This is way more efficient.
And I want to double click into the incentive one as well. I know Ashton has like a platform around this, but another thing I noticed when I was in China, we were at this restaurant called Black Bamboo there all the time. And it's by there's a Michelin star coffee place in Guangzhou called Song that's like incredible. And like you can buy literally like an $80 cup of coffee, like which in China like attributes to like some pretty wild, but like there's a whole spectrum. But they opened a restaurant, super nice restaurant, beautiful food presentation, immaculate menu, the whole thing, which is like rare to have like somewhat westernized stuff like that there. And we ate there like 5 times because it was near the hotel and it was banging and that kind of thing. So, but there's always influencers. There's always girls in groups of 2 taking photos for like hours while we were there eating, like inside this place. And we were kind of like, what is the deal with this? Like, are they just like influence? Like, are they just doing this for their own Instagrams? Like, they're not eating, they're taking photos forever. And there's always different girls. Every time we've been here, it's like more sets of these influencers. And so I asked my boy who's like in nightlife there, and he was like, oh, so this is actually a thing. Anytime any of these places open, they will go pay local influencers, like 5 or 10 of these people to come do these carousel sets for Red Note, which is like the social there. And you'll notice these carousels that people do, there'll be like 40 photos, it'll be the same place. And I was like, okay, cool. So they're doing that. And he's like, hey, but the difference between Black Bamboo and what they're normally doing is they don't do 5 to 10 when they opened. They do like 5 to 10 a day. And they're paying them like 2,000, 3,000 RMB, which is like a couple $100, $300-$400. And there is just a flow. So every time you're there, there's these like immaculately dressed, crazy looking people doing these shoots. But then you're just like, they're just dominating social media. And I think that's still this is still like not quite, if people are doing it in the US or doing whatever, it's like a handful. It's like, oh, I'm going to invite this one person this week, this one person next week. But like the real answer is like, do that shit at scale. You can kind of get to wherever you want. And there's almost an unlimited flow. And it's about finding that right price arbitrage. Because at the end of the day, $250 or whatever it averaged out to, $350, like from Red Note, is kind of the right price for both the person and for the influencer, that kind of makes it work almost no matter what, as long as like the food's good and the content's good. You got to go on Red Note to find it though. They ain't posting that shit on TikTok.
One of the things that I think, like you said, is like a lot of these businesses will do it. Maybe they do it one-off. They reach out to like one influencer. They come out, they make one piece of content. But like, how do you do that at scale? And I think one of the challenges for a lot of these businesses, there isn't really like a platform that they can do this through. There's no scalable way to do it. So it's still a manual effort. There was a company that I was talking to earlier this year called Crowd or Join Crowd or something. Yeah, here we go. And basically what it is like a platform to do this, right? To find hundreds or thousands of creators in a specific community, and I think this is just in the US, to go do some task, okay? And so this task can be, hey, we just launched our Amazon store. I'm going to pay you $60 to go buy the product on Amazon. So day one, we have a ton of organic traffic come in. You're going to buy it. And then like on the backside, I'll tell you to review it or something. But I just want en masse a ton of people to like go do this thing. And he was giving me this other case study where there was a hotel or hotel restaurant in LA. I'm going to say Beverly Hills Hotel, but like, I don't know. But they opened up a new restaurant and they wanted to like figure out how to like, get their name on the map, like start like driving a ton of demand. So they use this to basically comp 300 creators' meals, 300 influencers' meals over the course of like 15 days. So every single day, there was like 20 influencers, creators coming in talking about it. And that just raw momentum from like all of those creators in one specific geography, all at the same place, being like, I'm here, it's beautiful, here's the food. He was saying after that, they sold out for the next 4 months. Like they just, wow, no spot, like there was so much demand for it. And, you think about the math on that, it's like, yeah, we're comping the meal. Maybe we're paying some like nominal amount to them to show up here. But look what it's kind of like done for their business. And so I think they are an interesting platform. I haven't used them, but he was giving me some of their case studies and I think that was super cool. There's also this other platform that I'm familiar with called On the House. Which I heard about from a like influencer creator who's based down in Miami. And she was talking about how she like heard her boyfriend like eat out for free every single night. She goes to Pilates. If you're wondering where like all these girls in LA are like just doing Pilates all the time and eating at super nice restaurants, it's probably because they're on the house. She gets a $4,000 a month stipend to use at any establishment that is on the house. The only requirement is that she either post a reel or like organically integrates them in her stories. So ever since watching this, I see her stories and I'm like, oh, this is why she's posting from these like Pilates places every day. This is why she's like tagging these restaurants. It's not that she just lives this ultra glamorous life. She's almost like doing it on the back end to like get the comp here. So this is a platform that's basically like trying to do that at scale, right? Let me tap into all of these tastemakers and local influencers. Let me incentivize them to come patronize these restaurants or fitness places. And I'm going to use them as a distribution vehicle, right? They are, rather than running ads on like local TV or local print or whatever, I'm just going to have 60 local influencers in Miami that are all women between the age of 20 and 35 hit my spot up and tag me every time they come here. And it's like, that's probably just going to do more for your business than all that other stuff.
This reminds me of like ClassPass, but for influencers. If you've ever worked in the fitness space, like ClassPass, is available because there was a challenge with all these fitness studios is you would buy a membership, particularly in places like LA and New York, I think, where or Miami, you would buy a membership to one yoga studio, but you really would like to go to other yoga studios or Pilates studios or whatever the latest trend is, Orange Theory or High Rocks, and so I think that the ClassPass is great, and then figuring out the way that you just serve that for influencers is pretty amazing. And it's just wild that it continues to go on. But sometimes
it's so small. It's still just like we're so early. Yeah.
Yes. It's like I think for us sometimes it feels like tired and tried, but it's still like so simple sometimes. I think we're always, particularly as marketers and people who want novelty, it's like we're always looking for like the next big crazy thing, but really it's actually quite simple still. Like people are trying to figure out ways to just incentivize creators in simple ways like this. And we saw WAP. We covered WAP a month ago or so, and that's also just another way of incentivize people to create content around a creator instead of a business. And so all of these are simple ways of like you're trying to get the word of mouth out. Social and organic short form video right now is still the biggest arbitrage for this. It does it for all of our businesses and personal brands, and it can continue to do it for the other brands if you can just run a simple playbook like this. On the house, helping the wellness girlies. What else is on the end of our agenda here? All right, last on the agenda, what's happening recently? We're seeing a couple of our like free concerts, the new festival. We've got Lady Gaga doing one of the biggest shows in South America, it looks like. And then a really clever one. We covered Bad Bunny doing a subway show with Jimmy Fallon a couple months ago. We've seen artists like U2 do that a while ago. I do think in the era of short form where everyone can have their own camera and can be capturing, it looks like All American Rejects did something really clever with this young garage band. So Antonio tipped us off to this one, the Brandfather's son here. And this band True Blood, I think there's a couple of these who are swirling around TikTok where they're basically like kid garage bands, which are just kind of awesome, and they've got an iPhone and they're capturing stuff in their garage and they're getting hundreds of thousands of views, if not millions of views. Like this one has almost 2 million views. So these kids are out here doing their garage band thing. And the All American Rejects, I think, show up to sing with them. If you fast forward a little bit, here he is. Their lead singer will come on and take the mic. And this has now gotten a couple million views. But I think this is just an interesting way to be thinking about the music world, especially, is so heavily dependent upon short form video that all these young artists are basically, we talked about it last week, Ashwin, a lot of these artists are just creating little mini 60-second music video vignettes. Sometimes they're with an iPhone, sometimes they're with a cool camera, but that is where the audience is. MTV is kind of out. And
MTV?
Nice, yeah.
Is it still around?
I don't think so.
MTV produced Landman.
What is Landman?
Did it really?
Yeah. Oh man, Ashwin, you're really like not in touch with Heartland America, my brother.
No, I live in New York City, brother.
Landman, like it's a show. It's a show about Texas that is, if you know anyone in Texas, they're familiar.
That said, I do watch a lot of Forged in Fire.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. Well, also, television's so overwhelming now to even think about, and it's on like Paramount Plus or Apple or like one of like the B tier ones. But it's just funny. I just noticed I was watching it on a plane. I don't watch much TV, but like when I had this 15-hour flight, and it was like MTV presents, and I was like MTV.
Wow. Really, Landman?
Yeah.
The reason I haven't
Taylor
watched
fucking Sheridan or whatever his name is. And, yeah.
I know. Yeah, Taylor Sheridan, who did Yellowstone. It's basically
but it
Yellowstone.
Makes sense when you watch it. You're like, yeah, this is some MTV shit.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's set. It's like a modern day soap opera based in West Texas around oil men. Like, to be honest, I've heard
Billy Bob Thornton as the main character.
Actually, sounds great.
Yeah. Taylor Sheridan, though, did some
Absolute
great
legend.
early stuff. He's had so much success with the television. I actually liked his earlier stuff. But
yeah, but I don't know. Like, not to get too deep into it, but doesn't he have like the mechanics of his deal are like ultra crazy? Like he got like some 9-figure deal, but he has to produce like all of this TV, and so he's just sort of like checking boxes and shit.
Yeah, he's got like a full on operation out here. When I did the Visit Fort Worth, I spoke at their convention. Like he's like a honorary member of that. Like he's bringing tons of business to Fort Worth now with all these television productions to the stock. Like they shut down the stockyards, I think, for Landman production one day.
That's like shutting down, like Pico in LA,
Times Square, but he's got some giant ranch. He's got a meat operation. He's doing rodeo.
We gotta do Heartland marketing as
we
a
do.
segment.
We should do Heartland marketing. We should do a little deal with Visit Fort Worth. The Brandfathers the live streaming from the stockyards could be incredible.
We can just throw queries out to Ashwin and be like, Ashwin, the difference between an Axis and an Oryx. And then
Ashwin, what does it mean when they have horns?
You tell us. It's just sponsorship. the Winnebago sponsorship, and I'm in. I'm in on a 6-month
Yo,
tour.
the Winnebago sponsorship. Yo, the Winnebago might go in for Heartland marketing. I'm in.
Ashwin will take a Winnebago all the way from New York City down to Fort Worth, Texas.
I'll do anything. I'll do anything to just get in a Winnebago.
Oh, yeah. Oil and gas. If you guys want to tap in and sponsor the Midland moment, you know, as it's called, we're ready to go. Yeah.
Midland moment.
Yeah, where we talk about mallard hunting for like easily 90 seconds.
Oh my gosh, guys!
Yeah.
So many segments.
Best pair of waders and Dick's Sporting Goods. Go. All right.
That's right. Yeah. Well, we have Sitka who will outfit us quite well.
I wear that Sitka the jacket all the time.
Yeti, we're here as well. Anyway, okay.
Yeah. Honestly,
all right. Well,
this could be on the Yeti network if we really leaned into Midland marketing. I feel like we could be on the Yeti media property. It's only natural.
Sorry,
you know that TikTok that went viral of like the white guy trying naan and chicken tikka masala for the first time?
Yes.
We could do the inverse.
We could do that for me, dude.
We take Aspen to Buc-ee's. You know what I'm saying? Like we're Aspen to
Buc-ee's.
This is actually a great evolution of the content.
Yeah, well, he's at Cooper's, but the one in Lano.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Wow.
Hard 8 barbecue. Ashwin can get taquerias like for the first time. This is going to be incredible.
Actually, yeah, the venison sausage. He's skinning a rabbit.
Actually incredible.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry. So, big oil and gas, Yeti Network,
Netflix,
Winnebago, sponsor Netflix, sponsor the pod.
Yes. Speaking of sponsoring the pod, Ashwin, let's chat about platform because we got a big episode coming up next week.
We got a big episode that I think all of us are really excited about. So platforms, they've been our sponsor. You've heard us talk about them. But if you're a brand and you want to get into retail, you want to sell Whole Foods, Costco, Awan, Sprouts, brands at any scale that want to get into chains at any scale, it's you can't really just go straight to the source and go talk to Walmart and say, hey, put us on shelves. And if you do, you're probably going to make a lot of mistakes. So that's where a group like Platform comes in. Call it a brokerage, a concierge service, but really they have deep relationships with all of these retail partners and they help make sure that your brand is set up for success there. So the episode that we're doing is going to be with the chief growth officer of Platform, as well as some of the brands that they have scaled into retail. And we're just going to do a 101, like how do brands think about getting into retail? How do they pitch? What mistakes do they make? How do they get set up for success? And I think it's going to be a really good episode because I just have a ton of curiosities around that. And we all have experience bringing brands to retail in some shape or form. And so I think it'll be a great, just kind of like well-rounded episode to not just talk about online stuff too.
Yeah, can't wait. We've had some good success with guests. If you haven't checked it out, we did an episode with Marcus Milione of Minted New York, Milione of Minted New York, which did really well. So looking forward to this. If y'all have questions, let us know. Shoot us in the DM.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great week.